What if I told you that you can outwork and get ahead of the 99% in 6 to 12 months? With a few simple tools that you already have, standing out from the crowd has been so much easier than ever. And now, I'm going to show you science-based strategies from well-known scientists and experts to force yourself to crave doing the hard things. We'll be going through the intricacies to upgrade your skills, unlock your hidden potential, and finally outwork the 99% of people. So, sit back and brace yourselves. The first thing we have to do is to paint a picture of what you don't want to be. In this instance, you don't want to be in the same position 1 year from now. Staying the same after 365 days without any progress or success is a conscious decision you will regret for the rest of your life. While your peers graduated, got promoted in their jobs, or became millionaires, you're still in the same box, working the same job you don't like and living paycheck after paycheck. Analyze where you will end up if you will keep doing the same things over and over and over again. Envision the life that you don't want to live and run away from it. This is your anti-vision. Instead of asking yourself what dream you want to chase, you have to first be aware of the life you want to run away from. Use your negativity bias to work for you because fear is the greatest motivator. After establishing your anti-vision, you need to have a clear vision of what and where you want to be in life. The boring fundamentals of setting goals, building habits, and creating routines are the most important ones. And before introducing you to the more exciting concepts to upgrade your mind, I want to remind you of those little principles that are the nucleus of improvements, which are the same repetitive actions. Having clear set goals will give you the direction and the right habits to perform, starting that business, picturing that dream physique, and building your dream project. Focus only on one thing, find it, build it, and work on it as hard as you can. Next is provision. Provide yourself the right information, ideas, principles, habits, or anything that you think will be essential for you to jumpstart your journey. Consume the educational contents, document your progress in a physical journal, and rid yourself from the mindless entertainment that will stop you from reaching your goals. Read business books, sign up for that gym membership, and eat the right food that will get you in the sharpest version of your mind without slowing you down while digesting it. Provide the best things needed, not wanted, to create a functional and purposeful day for yourself. Now that we've identified what you don't want, what you want, and what you need to achieve your goals, let's now jump to the things that will be a catalyst to achieving your goals. Think of it as boosters to skyrocket you up to a higher level. So now, allow me to introduce it and explain it one by one as best as I can. The flow state. A mental state in which a person is completely focused on a single task or activity. Flow is often associated with athletes, artists, or scientists who are fully task-absorbed in order to achieve peak performance. Some people refer to this informally as being in the zone. In this state, people experience a heightened sense of focus, concentration, and complete absorption in what they are doing. Flow state usually occurs when a person's skill level matches the challenge level of the task they are undertaking. Individuals often experience a distortion of time where hours feel like minutes, and their sense of self and ego dissolve, leading to pure engagement in the activity. Activities that can induce flow vary from one person to another, but can include anything from sports, music, writing, coding, or even everyday work tasks. To experience flow, it's crucial to find a balance between skills and challenge. However, flow is something that happens to us. Technically, entering the flow state is impossible because it is a state, not an action. A perfect comparison to this is sleeping. You cannot go to sleep. However, you can go to bed, feel comfortable, rest, and eventually fall asleep. You cannot dive into flow state. However, you can set yourself and your environment to perfectly align for flow state to happen to you. So now, how can we facilitate the right habits for flow state to happen to us? There are 3 conditions that must be met in order for this to happen. Number 1 is acquiring positive amounts of stress. Number 2 is the absence of ego. And number 3 is focusing on a single task for long periods of time. Let's explain number 1. If a task is too easy, you will procrastinate because it will induce crippling boredom that will paralyze you. If a task is too hard, you will procrastinate because you feel overwhelmed by the task at hand. You need to find the right amount of stress or use stress relative to your skill level to actually enjoy the work that needs to be done. If it's too boring, make it a little more challenging. Just like a gamer leveling up, you need bigger challenges in order to continue leveling up. If the task is too overwhelming, you need to break it down into smaller ones and and work on it individually to make it doable. Just like a gamer that has just been spawned into the map, you cannot automatically fight the level 50 monsters. You first need to defeat the lower levels for it to be attainable. The right amount of eustress will make a task enjoyable to the point that it becomes play. Number 2 is the absence of ego, or in other terms, is the absence of the self. When you're immersed into a task, there's always a comparison between the self and others. Someone is better than me, so I'll just let the opportunity pass. You need to eliminate the ego in you to be one with the task without the thought of any other things. You need to be one with the task at hand to the point that you lose yourself in the process. It's not you working with the task. It's not the task being worked on. It's the task and you as one entity functioning to produce an output. This is when you lose track of time because the only thing there is the activity. By eliminating your ego and any comparison in the process, you allow yourself to blend in on the activity without any restraints. Number 3 is the ability to focus for long periods of time. I can give you a cliché activity that will greatly enhance your focus, but 75% of people watching this will hardly implement it. Even I am guilty of missing days to practice this, and that is meditation. Meditation for 10 minutes will greatly help you focus at any task by far, and it helps me multiple times when I feel like procrastinating on a task. If you cannot do 10 minutes of meditation, do 30 minutes. Master your focus, because in a world full of mindless content and overwhelming amounts of information, you will fall victim to the 99% of people who have the attention span of a goldfish. Another exercise that you can implement to improve your focus is something called fixed point gazing. This is how it goes. Stare at something, preferably a candle, and stare at it without blinking. Forbid your eyes from closing for at least 15 to 30 seconds. The longer it gets, the greater your focus improves and the higher the chance for you to enter the flow state longer and more consistently. Your focus is your superpower. Now that we've learned flow state and how you can enter it to use in your work sessions to achieve more with less, let's now answer where and when to work. Where to work is easy. You just have to find the best place for you with the least distractions possible. Some of you already have home offices, but from time to time, you need a new environment to work on to have a breath of fresh air. When to work is the more important one. Science shows that people who work in the windows of hours where they are biologically at their sharpest outwork the people who miss the hours when they are at their peak concentration, even if they work at longer hours. Everyone has an individual hard-coded peak performance window, a set of hours within every day when your productivity performance is at its peak. Now, we're going to learn how to find your peak performance window and work within it to achieve more with less. In an experiment in 1960 led by NASA scientists, geologist Michael Cifre lived underground for 205 days. This experiment led to a shocking finding. With or without light or a sense of time, our bodies keep a consistent rhythm. Think of it as a biological to-do list, where your body follows a series of activities ingrained in your system. In continuation to this experiment, Dr. Thirdbirds discovered that just as a person has a unique fingerprint, every individual has a unique chronotype. Chronotype is the natural inclination of your body to sleep at a certain time. Building on that definition, chronotype determines the fluctuations in your alertness, your energy, and your productivity in a given 24 hours. Whether you're a morning person, an evening person, or something in the middle, your chronotype is the outward behavioral manifestation of your internal circadian rhythm. Within your chronotype is your chronotype zone, a daily peak performance window that's coded in your biology. Memory recall, attention span, and reaction times are the sharpest in these zones, which will be likely for us to access flow when we work during these zones in a given day. The problem is, when we work outside of these zones, imagine working on your research papers feel like trailing a road of thick mud. No matter how many times you think, nothing gets done and every hour is wasted. But what if we can align our list of tasks to our peak performance zones? We start by identifying our chronotype. We'll follow 3 chronotypes named by author Dan Pink, which are Larks, the morning people, Nightowls, the evening people, and Thirdbirds. And keep this in mind, these 3 are determined by your genetics. In order to identify which of these 3 you fall into, I need you to imagine yourself in a vacation. You control your schedule, you don't have obligations, you don't need to drink coffee to pull all-nighters for a deadline. In these situations, what time do you naturally end up going to bed, and what time do you naturally wake up? Then, determine the midpoint between these 2 times. For example, you sleep at around 11 p.m. and then you wake up at around 7 a.m. The midpoint will be at 3 a.m. If your midpoint is around 3 a.m., which is 10%, you're likely a lark. If your midpoint is around 5:30 a.m., which is 25% of the population, you're likely a night owl. If you're somewhere in the middle, you're likely a third bird. Once you know your chronotype, you can now identify your windows of peak performance. If you're a lark, 4 to 9 a.m. is probably the best time for you to work on the hardest tasks. If you're an owl, working between 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. is great for you. And for third birds, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. might work the best for your performance. Outside of these peak performance windows or chronotype zones is something called trough. This is the period where your memory recall, attention span, and reaction time is at an all-time low. This is where you're most prone to procrastination. Tasks are overwhelming and you lose focus, and you get distracted so easily. The sad reality is that most people miss their peak performance window and work on their trough. The output is mediocre. They work longer hours with little to nothing at all to show for it. Meanwhile, the few people who work on their chronotype zones outwork everyone, even if they work just a few hours, because they are their best version. Big tasks get done, and flow state is easily accessible because your biology naturally produces alpha and theta brainwaves, the right amounts of cortisol, or again, eustress to boost your energy, and serotonin to help you relax simultaneously. Think of an anime character or a hero in the game. If someone has the ability to fight at the highest level while simultaneously healing themselves, this is just too OP. You can annihilate tasks at maximum speed. This is why protocols like Pomodoro technique and variations of it get frequently mentioned by experts to work and heal yourself in an extended period of time in a day. Another one is monk mode, which gets in a higher level of work while eliminating distractions and mindless actions to lead to a better rest, which we will expand more in a bit. Just remember that you are still a biological timing machine. Certain tasks are best performed at certain times. In your windows of peak performance, do the hardest things. Leverage your maximum productivity to produce the best output. And in the trough, do the things that requires minimal effort and concentration. Or, the best that you can do is rest and reload for the next push of work. Here's an ideal daily routine for each chronotype. If you're a lark, try to fall asleep as early as 9 p.m. and wake up at 5 a.m. At 5:30 is your maximum productivity, up to 11 a.m. where you start to stagnate. Here, you can do some physical activities or other household chores. Another energy boost will soon pop up at noon where you can do some mid-level work. At 2 to 4 p.m., you can make your meal, walk, or take a nap to wind down and reflect on your day. And at 4:30 p.m., you're already far behind your chronotype zone and you can start to fully rest without guilt because you already achieved a lot of tasks earlier in the day. If you're a third bird just like me, your chronotype zone is at 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. I do much of my heavy writing here where I'm at my peak. At 11 a.m., I'll be needing to recharge a bit and get ready for another wave of energy that might appear at 12 noon to 2 p.m. By 2:30 p.m., I'm already losing my energy boost and I'll transition to light work or completely shut down everything and rest. Whilst the average third birds are already far behind their chronotype zone here, I'm actually preparing for another wave of productivity in the night where I will be writing again or plan my day ahead. Lastly, if you're a night owl, embrace the 10 a.m. wake-up time without feeling guilty for yourself, and then slowly build yourself up for work by exercising first, then team meetings, and scheduling your day until noon. And then in the evening, you enter your chronotype zone where you're at your peak, and then just decide what time you will stop working. And around these times, other people are already resting and winding down. As a night owl, you need to set boundaries for yourself to protect your most productive windows of hours. Don't squander your optimal biology. Here's an interesting thought. 1 hour spent working in your chronotype zone is equivalent to 4 hours of work in the trough. That's only 25% of work while working 3 times more if you miss your chronotype zone. So, take your time to find your chronotype because when you work is even more important than how much you work, who you're working with, and how hard you work. This is how the top 1% outwork the 99% knowingly or not. Let me ask you a question. What was it all for? What motivates you to outwork and achieve more than anyone else? Is it for the money, fame, wealth? Motivation is a polarizing concept that has different connotations to different people. They say that you don't need motivation. What you need is discipline. If this is the type of motivation that's in your mind, then you're clearly in the wrong path. But what if I tell you that there's a hidden motivation switch located deep in your brain that unlocks a type of motivation drive far more powerful than money, fame, or status? This is called intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is something that motivates you to do the work with or without a reward. It's doing the work for the sake of doing the work. It's not playing to win the game, but instead win the game to play more. Intrinsic motivation is like a superpower that makes you hunt, not to feast, but continue hunting. Intrinsic fuels also compounds. It makes the next series of work easy, where you almost lose yourself and you become one with the work. Extrinsic motivation allows you to immerse in the work and start your journey, but it is intrinsic motivation that makes you want to continue and get better. So, how can you upgrade your fuel source that will boost your intrinsic motivation? It starts by studying the 5 intrinsic motivators: curiosity, mastery, purpose, autotelicity, and autonomy. Curiosity is the insatiable itch to learn everything about your work, the childlike thinking of being eager to ask questions about the universe that others feel weird about. Think back on your memories as a child when you stumbled upon the school laboratory and every piece of equipment feels new and exciting. Even after the class hours are over, you keep thinking of that one last leaf you badly want to place under the microscope to see what's inside. Curiosity gives an instant boost to your motivation because it asks questions to your brain that you have to answer in the physical world. Curiosity then leads to you wanting more and more and craving to perfect something and be great at it, which is mastery. Comprehensive knowledge or skill in a subject providing control and superiority. Purpose is the reason for which something is done or created. Autotelicity is doing the things for the sake of doing it, playing not to win, but winning to continue to play. And the last one, autonomy, an individual's capacity for self-determination or self-governance. Let's visualize all of these concepts and use myself as an example on how to dial each intrinsic motivators to level up your productivity. I've always loved creating videos because I was always curious about the things that I like the most. To learn and study my interests and craft a well-edited video, I have an insatiable drive to digest the ideas that fuels my creativity and generate my opinions and values. My curiosity level is at an all-time high. Being able to share it on a platform that will allow me to spread my ideas across the globe for other people to also learn while giving me the leverage to make a living out of it is a purpose comparable to a noble cause. However, I find myself struggling to actually do the task needed to produce an output. My purpose overshadows the actual work so much that I end up daydreaming about the things that I could have done while looking at a blank document while staring at my wall for an hour. Writing feels like torture, where shackles of procrastination keeps my hands away from the keyboard. I wasn't doing the work for the sake of doing it. I was doing it for the rewards that it might bring. Mastery is also at an all-time low. I end up getting trapped in an editing software stuck in decision fatigue. Generating an idea feels like finding a needle lost in a haystack. I get overwhelmed by the work to be done, knowing that I could have done better had I started earlier. Autonomy is also low because of the constant busy schedules, phone calls, and sudden errands in the household, in the work, or in school. I had no freedom of choosing what and when to work. If someone suddenly comes to my house for something, I will then be delayed yet another day from the dreams I want to achieve. So, I sat down and figured out how to work on the motivators that I lack. I studied how to organize my workflow to make me love my work again. The small things that distract me from time to time got eliminated. I studied my sleep cycle and I worked on how I can be as disciplined as possible to get more work done. Because of this, I was able to upgrade my mastery and autotolicity by a few levels. I also dropped some freelance projects to focus more on the other things that's most important to me, which is this YouTube channel. I started cutting people's access to me for some sudden errands, and my autonomy went to the roof. When I leveled up these intrinsic motivators, I found out that it was also fueling my access to flow, and it became this self-sustaining system where something fuels the other and vice versa. But there's one more thing that I want to tell you to reach your goals faster than anyone else, and it requires some sacrifice. Disappear. Your new life is gonna cost you your old one. When I say that you have to disappear, I don't mean for you to build a hut in the woods and disappear from the world. What I mean is to disappear, dissociate, and eliminate yourself from the mindless habits that you built consciously or not. Partying, games, prawn, and any type of addiction that you know won't lead to the life you wanna live. Your friends will not hold your hand and help you stand up at times of turmoil. And that's okay, because they also have their lives to manage. But if you want to change the situation you are in right now, you cannot expect different results if you do the same things from before. The closer you are to the light, the bigger the shadow you cast. The closer you are to your goals, the bigger your problems get. Understand that as you carve your path, you will face many setbacks, and the challenges will only grow bigger. As you move towards your goal, your vision will get clearer. It will put you out of darkness, and all the darkness that will be left will be yourself. No one will save you but yourself. However, yourself is also your biggest enemy. If you don't control your mind, someone else will. If you don't control your life, someone else will. If you don't create a pattern of life for yourself, someone else will do it for you. Either you choose the life you want to live, or you let the algorithms do it for you. Monk mode is a great way to have a strict and limited routine that only includes the most important things for you to achieve. It deletes all the clutter and uncertainty that directionless algorithms propagate. If you want to implement this protocol, do it for your own sake. Every monk mode differs for every person with different goals. So, I want to share my own monk mode protocol. These are the non-negotiables. No alcohol, no video games, lights off at 6 p.m, no caffeine after 12 noon, sleep at 10 p.m, wake up at 6 a.m, read a book a week. This is the bare minimum to implement, but it is important to do it by your level. If you reach this point of the video, I do want to thank you from the very bottom of my heart. I will have chapters in this video so you can rewatch it again, or you just want to relearn a lesson from this video. I'll also have resources linked down below. If your motivation for outworking everyone else is happiness and freedom, I think you need to watch this video. I am very blessed that I was able to craft yet another video for all of you guys. We'll be back in the documentary formats in the next videos, so I hope you subscribe. I don't want to just create multiple exposed videos or documentary videos pointing a finger to someone else. I also do want to make these kinds of videos for me to actually teach you something and for you to get value. We'll be back in the documentary formats in the next video, so I hope you've learned a lot, and good luck on your journey in outworking the 99% of people. Goodbye.